Hello friends, welcome to Knowledge India once again. In this tutorial, we are going to talk about RDS and we will specifically discuss about Read Replica. There are certain topics which we are going to cover, which is what about Cross Region Read Replica? How do we set it up? We will see it with a detailed demo. We'll also see that how can we go ahead and use Cross Region Read Replica to actually handle DR scenarios. In addition to that, we'll also cover RDS storage auto-scaling part. So we'll see that how can we go ahead and have an RDS database and never have to worry about its storage getting filled. As you already know, RDS is an offering from Amazon which gives you a managed database so that you do not have to go and do a lot of stuff like installation, backup, monitoring. All such things are gone away from your plate. These things come set already as part of RDS. Relational databases support only vertical scaling, which means you cannot just go ahead and add one more node to increase the performance of your database. So in order to boost the performance of your database, what you could probably do is, you can go ahead and take some load away from your actual database. So as you can see in this diagram, we have got database server here, which is our primary database, which is doing all the read write traffic. So in any application, you would see that there would be certain module which is just more read intensive, right? Modules typically like which are those of reporting type, right? Where you are looking at the data which is getting changed, but then it's okay if it is slightly stale. When I say slightly stale, if it is few seconds old, it's just gonna be okay. So what you do, you set up Read Replica. Read Replica is going to be a separate database instance, and automatically all the data updates which happen at your primary database will keep getting pushed to this Read Replica. And if you have any module such as a reporting module, right, you can go ahead and point it to the Read Replica database instance. Please understand, your Read Replica database instance would have a separate endpoint altogether, right? So because you are sending all your BI or BI reporting type of traffic to this Read Replica, you are freeing up some resource at your primary database. Because if we did not have this Read Replica, you would have been hitting the primary database itself. So that way, free up some load from your primary database. That's one of the feature of Read Replica. That's why we go ahead and use it. Now, Read Replica can be created within the same region as that of your primary database, or it can be created in another region as well. Why do we go ahead and create it in another region? Because cross region or another region Read Replica can help you in DR scenarios. So in case, let's say your primary region is North Virginia, for example, and in that your database is running, you can have your Read Replica running in, let's say, North California. And if North Virginia database goes down or something bad happens, what you can do is you can go ahead and just promote your Read Replica which is there in the North California. Once you promote it, your Read Replica becomes like a fully functional database. It can now support read and write both type of traffic. Whereas normally a Read Replica, as the name suggests, only supports read type of traffic, right? So that's what Read Replica is all about. There are a few things which you might want to remember or keep in mind, that whether Read Replica is supported for all the database engines. The answer is no. In case of RDS, for MySQL, MariaDB, PostgreSQL, and Oracle, it is supported, right? It is not supported for RDS SQL Server. That is something to know. In case of cross-region Read Replica, you can do it for RDS MySQL, MariaDB, PostgreSQL, and Oracle. You can do it for Aurora as well, but it is only applicable for Aurora MySQL. I'm talking about cross-region Read Replica. Aurora PostgreSQL doesn't support cross-region Read Replica at this point of time. Okay, so with that, I hope you get an idea that what Read Replicas are and how can we go ahead and use it. What we'll do is we'll now head to our demo and we will see that how do we set this up. We will go ahead and create a primary database, then we'll create a Read Replica out of it, right? We will test both of them, and after that what we'll do, we will promote our cross region Read Replica, right, which is basically in another region altogether. We'll go ahead and promote it to a primary database, and then it will start supporting read and write traffic. We will see all of this with the demo, so let's get into it. This channel teaches you AWS and Azure in really easy and practical manner. There are a lot of demonstration videos already on the channel. As you can see, a lot of professionals got benefited from our videos and you can read about them here. So if you are new, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon. Alright guys, so we will go ahead and first set up a database quickly, and after that, from that database we'll go ahead and create a cross region read replica. So let's do it. I'm gonna choose PostgreSQL this time, and we can choose any version which we like. Choosing the latest one, that's fine. We'll go with production. Basically gonna just have multi-AZ. That means we need to give a name. Whatever we want, we can give that name. Master username, let's say Postgres. We can give a password. Right, DB instance size, we're just gonna keep it really small because it is just for test. So yep. And how much allocated storage do you wanna give? Let's give something small. Oh, okay. Why provisioned IOPS? We'll just go with general purpose. There is this new feature of storage auto scaling now provided by RDS. This is a really good feature. Earlier it used to be there only with Aurora. Now even with RDS engines it is available. What does that mean? It means that you can start with a particular storage. As we have given above, you can see 50 GB as the storage space. We can do that, and then we can enable storage auto scaling. What would it do is that as it sees that your storage is getting full, it will go ahead and add additional storage, right? And the value which you provide here as maximum storage threshold, that's the maximum value to which it can go, right? So for example, here we are saying 1000 GB. So the maximum storage it can go would only be up to 1000 GB. Though for an RDS PostgreSQL, the maximum allowed storage is around 16 terabytes, which you can see here. So please understand the value which you provide here, that value acts as the upper limit, right? So how much do you want your database to expand, that much you can put here. Another point which you need to understand here is that, in how much increment does it increase. For example, if 50 GB is my allocated storage and it is getting full, how much will it get added, right? So for that we need to read a bit here. So there are two things to understand. First is Amazon RDS starts a storage modification for an auto scaling enabled DB instance when these factors apply. So when these things happen, then it will start adding the storage. What is that? Free space available is less than 10% of the allocated storage, right? So for example, my thing is 50 GB. So out of 50 GB, if it less than 10% is free, right? That means more than 90% got filled, then it will go ahead and add additional storage. The low storage condition lasts at least for 5 minutes. So that way, like the 10% whichever is remaining, that condition should be there at least for 5 minutes, right? It tests. Like it should not happen that just for a minute it went to 10% being free and immediately it added. No. So it waits for 5 minutes, and if it remains that way, that only 10% or lesser is free, it will go ahead and add. One more thing which it checks is at least 6 hours have passed since the last storage modification, right? So it meaning RDS would not go ahead and scale your storage like every hour or very frequently. If it scales once, it will wait for at least 6 hours, right? After that to do the scaling again. So it becomes very important to know that how much does it add actually, right? Every time the scaling happens, how much does it add? So this is how it is. There are three things, and out of these three, whichever is greater, that's what it adds. So the one thing is 5 GB, right? Another thing is 10% of currently allocated storage. So in my case, currently allocated storage is 50 GB. So 10% of that would also be 5. But if you take another example, let's say I go ahead and make it 100, right? Just to give you an understanding, if I make it 100, what would happen is 10% of 100 would be 10 GB, right? So between 5 GB and 10 GB, which one is bigger? 10 GB is bigger. So it will add 10 GB. There is one more factor. So it will take the biggest out of these three. The third factor is storage growth prediction based on the free storage space metrics change in the past hour. So this is a CloudWatch metric. So it will see that how has it changed in the past 1 hour. So for example, if it looks like that your database is actually growing at a faster speed, right? So that means in the last 1 hour, this particular metric would have changed drastically. So that actually gives an idea that your database is growing at a fast rate, right? So probably the value which comes because of that would be even bigger than 10 GB. So it will go ahead and pick that. RDS chooses out of these three which one is biggest, and it will go ahead and add that much storage to your RDS database. Now, once it does that, it would not do anything after that for 6 hours, right? So that gives you one important thing to worry about. What if there is a scenario that you have to actually go ahead and basically load a lot of data, right? Sometimes it happens that you have got, let's say, 500 GB data, and you want to store it into a database. And if your allocated storage is not that much, then you can probably not rely at auto scaling for that time. See, when you have a drastic growth suddenly, then for that purpose, you should go ahead and do manual scaling. You can always go to RDS and increase the storage manually. The auto scaling feature would help you in the scenarios where like normal database usage is happening, and slowly or at a regular rate your storage is getting increased, storage requirement is getting increased. Okay, so that was this particular factor. This is a new feature which came some time back with RDS. Moving ahead, we will just go ahead and we'll say create a standby instance, which is just like multi-AZ we want. In this case, we will just go ahead and create it in the default VPC itself, because I've already shown you in the other video how to create it in the private subnet of a new VPC. So I hope you are clear with that. I will leave the link of the video here. You can go ahead and watch that video. The intention of this video is to show you the whole read replica thing and how can we promote read replica to make it master, that part. Okay, so I'll just quickly finish this. So we'll just leave it that as the default VPC. We'll leave all of this as it is. We'll run it on the default port. That is fine. We'll just say create a new VPC security group. Let me just name it RDSSG. And yeah, also I want to give it a public IP just for the sake of it, because I'm keeping it in the public subnet. Password authentication, I've already given the password above. I'll cover this option of IAM database authentication and Kerberos in a separate video. That's also a good feature which has come. Any other features, meaning at what frequency do you want to do backup and all such things? If you want, you can go ahead and give. If you want, you can give some name. So I'll just say my database, right? You don't give it or don't give it, doesn't matter that much. So we'll just go ahead and say create. So this creates our database, and once it is created, then we will go ahead and create our read replica from this RDS into a new region altogether. We'll wait for a few minutes. All right, so now what we would do is we will try to connect to this database and see if it is working, and then we will go ahead and set up our read replica. So if we click on this database one, we can see that this is the endpoint for the database. We will go ahead and use our very friendly tool, which is SQL Workbench J, to connect to this. Go to connect window. We want PostgreSQL. And you can see in this JDBC URL, for the host, you need to put this endpoint. The port is 5432. And the name of database we had given was my database. Postgres was the username, master username, and password I had given, so I'm putting that. After putting this, let's try to test. Connection to this is successful. Great. So we'll say OK. We can just go ahead and probably save this as well. And then we'll say OK. So it should get connected. Right. So if we run this, what happens? You can see there are certain number of tables which we can see. Of course, these tables are more of inbuilt tables, right? So I'm not going to get into administration part of it. So our database is up and running here. Great. Now what we will do next is we will go here and we will try to create a read replica from this. So we'll just see, and you can see the status has changed to available. We'll select this and we'll say actions, create read replica, right? So now you can choose that the read replica which you are creating, whether that is, what should be the size of it, right? So basically you can choose a T2 micro or whatever you like, and whether it should be single AZ or multi AZ. Okay, that's the good thing. Like, let me make it, let's say multi-AZ, general purpose SSD storage type. See, it is not asking me the size of the storage here because, see, I cannot give a smaller size than that of my actual database, right? So size it will pick up from the actual database. So there I had given 100 GB. So here read replica also would be of 100 GB. The important point which I wanted to show is cross region read replica. And for that, we can go ahead and probably select something else. Let's say Tokyo. So for Tokyo, also there is nothing. That means I need to go and actually create a DB subnet group there. There is no DB subnet group available as of now. We can go ahead and do it. So I just quickly went ahead and created a DB subnet group in the Tokyo region. So if I go ahead and refresh, I should be able to see that, this one. And I'm not going to give any preference. In this DB subnet group, I have added two subnets which belong to two different availability zones. Yes, we are making it publicly accessible. Of course, this is just for this demo. Watch our video if you want to know how to launch database in the private subnet, right? That's it. Choose the VPC security group. The option here is default. So that's okay. We will just create a VPC for our need. Just give me a minute and I'll do that. All right, so I just went ahead and created a security group in the Tokyo region and refreshed it here. So you can see the DBSG is coming up. In this, I've just opened the port 5432. Okay, so yep. So that's my security group. Going ahead, read replica source is database one. This is the one which we created in our, which is our original one. This could be just any name which we want to give, basically the name with which we want to identify our read replica. So whatever we name we like, we can give. And port is 5432. That's okay. I don't want IAM and Kerberos at this point. I don't want enhanced monitoring. We'll just leave all these things as default and we will go ahead and say create. Okay. So what we are doing essentially is we are creating a read replica which is multi-AZ in a different region altogether. Okay, good. So let it get created. It will take some time. Of course, we need to go to the other region to see that, right? It will not appear here in this region. So let me move to the other region, which is Tokyo. So as you can see, this is the one which is getting created. Okay, so we'll give it few minutes. In the meanwhile, let us go ahead and try to create some table in our database, which is the actual database, right? And then we will see it flowing to the read replica. So I just executed this particular query, which created a table called students. I'll also go ahead and insert some data into it. Okay, so we'll just do. Okay, so this data is available now. Let me just enter some more things, right? Now you can see I've got 3 records here. Let's look at the status of our read replica. All right, so we now have our read replica up and running and we have got the endpoint for it. As you can see, whatever we had given as the cluster identifier, that thing comes as the first part of the endpoint, right? So we'll take this and we'll try to connect to this particular read replica instance and we'll see whether the data which we had put in our actual database got replicated to this or not. So we'll go here and we'll just say connect. Name of database would be same, my database, right? Because that's the internal name of the database. It just happened that when I created the read replica, for that the identifier also I gave as my database. So we'll just keep it that way. Username and password would be whatever was there, in the actual database, same thing. Now let's try to test this. This is successful. So we'll say OK. We'll also save this as RS1. We'll say OK. So now it gets connected. It has connected to the new one, you can see. I'll try to just run this thing and see if it returns. And yes, it does return me all the 3 records which were there in the master database or the actual database. So show you things in parallel, what I've done is I've opened 2 different windows of SQL Workbench J. This one is that of our primary DB or the actual RDS, and the one at the back is that of Read Replica. I'm just gonna enter here some other data, right? One more record. I'll enter here, execute, entered. Then we'll say select star. We can see 4 records here. Now let me come here and I'll try to execute here. You can see that we have got 4 records here as well. So the data flow from one region to another happens quite fast. Most of the times it would be just in few seconds, right? In this case, the data flow is like really less. I just inserted a record, so it is almost instantaneous, but that's how the performance would be. Most of the times it would be just few seconds. So as you can see, we can go ahead and do something more. So let's say I just insert this and I'll do, now there should be 5 records and here it is 5. I'll just come here immediately and execute and you can see 5 records. So that's how it works. So you saw that we have set up our primary database in one region, which is Seoul, and then we created the Cross Region Read Replica, which is also multi-AZ in a different region, Tokyo. Now let's say we want to do the last part of this, which is can we go ahead and promote Read Replica to become an actual or like a master database, so that we can do read write both type of thing. Before I do that, let me show you. If I go to this Read Replica one and I try to do, I try to insert something like this. Let's see if it works. You can see it was not successful because Read Replica supports only read type of traffic, right? It would not support insert, update, or delete. So only select was working, but any, insert, update, delete would not work. So now what we are going to do, we will go ahead and promote our Read Replica to act as an actual database which can support read and write both. So let's do that. All right, so we are here in our Read Replica dashboard, or basically in the Tokyo region. As you can see, our Read Replica is available. I've already shown you by connecting to it as well. We can go to actions and we can say promote. Now, when we go ahead and promote it, what would happen? The replication will stop, that connectivity would go away, and this database would actually become a fully functional database. Then you can do read, write, everything to it. So do you want to enable automatic backups? That's your choice. You can go ahead and do all of that and just say continue. Before you promote this Read Replica, we recommend that you stop any transactions on the master, right? So that anything which has happened on the master, everything has flown to the Read Replica. That's what it is saying. So we'll go ahead and say promote. Now let us see. We'll go ahead and click on this and try to see the details. So it is currently in the modifying status. As you can see, it will take some time and then it should become available. Once it becomes available, we'll be able to see, by actually executing insert, update, those type of queries as well, and it should work. So we'll just give it some time. As you can see here, the database goes for a reboot as well, right? It just takes some time, and so it modifies, does a reboot, and after that, your DB will become available. One more thing which I wanted to show you is that here at the bottom part in the replication section of Read Replica, you would see actually that what is the source database. So now that we have modified, so that particular record is gone from here. Otherwise, it would show that what is the source database from where the data is getting replicated to this Read Replica, and how much lag is there, that also shows up. How many seconds lag is there typically, that shows up. But now that we have modified, so that information is gone, and we just see one line item here which is of this particular instance which we are seeing here. All right guys, so as you can see, our Read Replica has become available again now, and we'll not call it Read Replica anymore because we have converted it or promoted it to a fully functional database. So now let's go ahead and connect to it. I just connected to it, and if I go ahead and run this particular thing, of course those 5 records are available. Now on this I will go ahead and actually execute an insert statement, and it should go through. Earlier, if you remember, insert statement was not working here. We'll go ahead and say this, and it worked. We can go ahead and execute this again, and you can see 6 records to be available. So that's what it is. So that's how you can go ahead and have a cross-region read replica. And in case of a disaster, you can even promote it to become an actual database, right? So I hope that was helpful, and we'll continue to have more videos like this. Stay tuned. Congrats on completing that tutorial. We have a lot more similar awesome tutorials on our channel which you can go through in the playlist section. Let us know what you think about our videos in the comment section, and if you like it, please do share it with your friends and hit the like button. Thank you.